All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. The schedule is due to be released tomorrow, and we're going to get our firsthand look at the 49ers schedule for the upcoming season. And it's going to be an interesting one. We've known the 2021 opponents for a good period of time now. The opponents are determined by the team's record and then the rotating different divisions that they face year to year. So, like, for example, the 49ers this year will face, of course, the NFC West, which is their division. They'll play each of those teams twice as usual. But this year, the Niners will face the NFC East. And that means Philly and Dallas and the Giants and those teams, and the AFC North, which is, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, those teams in the AFC North. And those are, Cincinnati, Cleveland, those are the teams in the AFC North. So the matchups, though, the three matchups I'm most eager to see. The first one's Eagles, right? It's the rematch of the NFC Championship game, and we think it's going to be Week 13, maybe in Philly. Debo's been talking game, saying, hey, you know what? You guys beat us because we didn't have a quarterback. Now the Niners have Javon Hargrave. Eagles fans felt like the Niners didn't respect them because they didn't really ever acknowledge that they were the better team in the playoffs because we never really saw that game played. That's really why. But, man, the Eagles have had a strong offseason despite the fact they've lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And they've lost, obviously, Javon Hargrave to the 49ers. But they've had a nice offseason. I mean, they really have. You look at what they've done. I mean, they still have a really good offensive line. Cam Jurgens is probably going to step in at right guard. That's their only change from last year. They picked up DeAndre Swift and lost Miles Sanders in the backfield. They also picked up Rashad Penny. So they got a deep backfield with Swift and Gainwell and Penny and Boston Scott. Obviously, very, very good football team. Two number one receivers, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. The big question is on the defense. They bring in Jalen Carter, who's an enormous talent, but they lost Javon Hargrave. And Hargrave was an impact guy, maybe their best player on their front seven last year. So they lose Hargrave for Jalen Carter. Maybe long-term, they will win out, but short term they probably lose out. Excuse me. And then they added Nolan Smith as an edge rusher. He's got 4.4 speed. He's an incredible athlete. And then they lost some good safeties for sure, but they brought in Terrell Edmonds from the Steelers, and they drafted Sidney Brown. They brought in Keely Ringo on the corner. So they got some new faces, Eli Ricks in the secondary. So to me, it's the Eagles are not the same team they were last year, but it's close. And they're still, I think, the preeminent Super Bowl contender for the 49ers to have to go through if they want to go to the Super Bowl. You're going to have to go through Philly. So whether it's in Week 13 or Week 1, I'm glad it's later in the year because I think there'll be a good chance Brock will be back. And then, if it's there in Philly, so be it. Too bad it's not here in Santa Clara, but that one. I mean, that to me, that is Niners Cowboys of the 80s and 90s, is Niners Eagles right now. These are the two best teams in the conference. There's a huge drop off after these two teams. That is, I won't bury the lead. That is the game of the year. Game of the year in the NFC. Niners, Eagles in Philly. If it comes in week 13, so be it. That's the game of the year. All right, but that's not the only game I'm looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to the Dallas game. Dallas is an interest. Anytime Dallas and the Niners get together, it's a battle. I don't know where that game's going to be, but, man, Dallas, I think, has done some good things this offseason too. They brought in Brandon Cooks at receiver. So they have Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. They lost Dalton Schultz at tight end, but they signed they drafted Luke Schoonmaker. And he comes over from Michigan. Dallas, they don't have Zeke Elliott anymore, but they did add Deuce Vaughn, who's a really fast back. So now they lose Zeke, but they add a really fast scat back and Deuce, and then they've added to their front. I mean, Viliami Fehoko Jr. played for San Jose State. Terrific edge rusher. Tyrus Wheat, Mississippi State, undrafted free agent. Terrific edge rusher. Mozzie Smith is going to help them inside against the run. He's a horse. He's an absolute monster wrecker inside. DeMarvion Overshone, the linebacker from Texas, they got a really good linebacking crew. They really do. with Parsons and Van Der Esch, Damone Clark, now Overshown, Dorrance Armstrong. They still got Dante Fowler. I mean, they got guys. So that's really what I'm looking for the most. They added Stephon Gilmore in their secondary. How good is Gilmore going to be there this year for them? So Dallas, I'm definitely looking forward to that Dallas game. Can the Niners continue to run the ball on the Cowboys, or can the Cowboys stand up and stop the run? So that's one. And then the third game, I think based on what I've seen in this draft, I thought the Seahawks had the best draft of anybody in pro football. And this is 2 years in a row that John Schneider has kicked butt in the draft. I mean, it's somewhat discouraging how well he's drafted the last couple of years. Just take a look at what they added on offense. At receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State in round 1. Matt Landers from Arkansas, 4.3 burner, tremendous player. They added 2 big physical offensive linemen in Anthony Bradford out of LSU and Michigan's Olu Oluwatimi, the Outland Trophy winner. 2 good interior blockers for sure. They added Zach Charbonnet to go with Kenneth Walker III. So, I mean, Charbonnet's a big-time guy. So, to me, they've added some good receivers, a couple good offensive linemen, and a top-tier running back. And then on defense, they added even more. On defense, they signed Draymond Jones from Denver. They added Derek Hall off the edge, terrific edge rusher. Great pickup. That was a really good one. Chris Garrett comes over from the Rams. He's a good pass rusher. They added some big beef up front in Robert Cooper and Cam Young. Their front is still just okay, but their secondary is just becoming elite. I mean, the Seahawks secondary is Devin Witherspoon, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Tariq Woolen, and Kobe Bryant. That's stacked. And, they even got some guys behind that are pretty good. Christian Young, the undrafted kid out of Arizona, might be a safety, might be a linebacker, but either way, that kid is a stud. Lance Boykin, the corner from Coastal, big corner, very physical. Ty Okada, the safety from Montana State, workout warrior, but intriguing as hell. So Arquan Bush is a good player. So they did add, I don't know if Seattle can stop the run. It's all about, Brian Monet and Jaron Reed, and, they did add Cam Young and Robert Cooper. I don't know if Seattle can stop the run, but to me, that's the other game. It's Dallas, it's Philly, and it's the first game against Seattle, because the Seattle is absolutely the number one division opponent, and to me, the battle royale is Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and Juwan Jennings against Devin Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant. It's on, man. It is on. And that is going to be, I think, the game of the year. Can the Niners, who beat them and slapped them around 3 times last year, finally beating them in Seattle, can they do that again? As Seattle has grown up with a ton of new talent, lots of new faces on the defensive side of the ball, lots of new faces at receiver, on offensive line, running back, and they're adding ballers. Charbonnet is terrific young running back, 225 pounds. So they got a lot. Seattle's had 2 really good back-to-back monster drafts, and they're coming. And Dallas puts a lot of heat on your offensive line with their ability to rush the passer. What do they look like post Zeke? I'm really eager to see Dallas, and then Philly, Niners and Philly and the Niners. I really believe that the next decade, you're going to see the Niners or Philly represented in the Super Bowl, representing the NFC most years. It's Niners or it's Philly. It's the Eagles or it's the Niners. Should be good. But the schedule's coming out. We'll do the whole, hey, week 1, they got this game, and they'll win this, they'll lose that. We'll play that. But come on, let's be honest. That's a futile exercise. That's a waste of time. But we'll do it. We'll do it anyway, just because what the hell? Why not? But in reality, the 3 games I'm looking for this year, Niners Cowboys, Niners Seahawks, Niners Eagles. Those 3 games are going to be absolutely fire, as the kids say. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day in Marin County. And if you're like me and you live out in the East Bay, check them out in Emeryville. They're inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace, open in Emeryville Wednesday through Sunday. And thanks to all of you for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.